Obamacare is at the crux of this government shutdown, because the government shutdown is really over Obamacare. And one aspect of Obamacare that I have not spoken about at all, but I want to take time to talk about it today, because I'm talking about all the things that are wrong with Obamacare. And one of them is that under the new rules, insurance companies cannot discriminate when pricing their premiums based on sex, so that women and men of the same, age group, have to pay the exact same insurance, which is complete nonsense. It doesn't make any sense to force insurance companies to abandon the actuarial tables when it comes to assessing risk. You see, women, particularly younger women, women in their 20s and 30s who are in their pregnancy years, they generally pay a much higher rate of insurance than men do. After all, women go to the doctor a lot more than men, especially if they get pregnant. But even if they don't get pregnant and they're seeing a gynecologist, I mean, women just have more health care needs when they're in their 20s and their 30s as compared to men. And therefore, young men, because they don't use as much health care, it's cheaper for them to buy insurance. Of course, the feminists are saying this is discrimination. Being a woman is not a pre-existing condition. This is unfair. Women cannot be charged more than men. They must be charged the same exact thing, despite the fact that they use the service a lot more than men. And so now, thanks to Obamacare, they can't do that. But again, what Obamacare really is, it's just a big, gigantic giveaway. It's a goodie bag of freebies for women. That's really all it's about. It's about getting a bunch of things that women normally have to pay for because they're women, and give the women those things for free. And in order to get their votes. That's what it's about. It's about getting the votes of women by promising women, half the population, a bunch of free stuff that ultimately has to be paid for by the other half, the men, who don't really count. But of course, not only is that wrong, not only is that really, I think, unconstitutional, but it's not fair. It's just not right. Women should pay more for health insurance than men. Now, why do I say that? Well, because women are going to take more out of the healthcare system, especially in the younger years, which is where you have the biggest disparity. Women in their 20s and 30s are going to be utilizing a lot more medical care than men. Now, if it was catastrophic insurance that you were buying, in case you get cancer or, something like that, then, the difference isn't that big a deal between men and women. But if you're talking about a low deductible type of plan where pretty much the insurance covers every time you go to the doctor, well, obviously women are going to pay more than men. They go to the doctors a lot more than men. I mean, men barely even go to the doctor in their 20s and 30s if they go at all. But women are there all the time. And of course, if they get pregnant, it's very expensive. Child care, especially today, the way the government has run up the cost of childbirth and all the cesareans and all the other complications. So obviously, women should pay more than men. Now, the women are saying, it's not fair. But it's not fair that we have to pay more just because we're women. Well, you know what? Life isn't fair. But also, there are a lot of examples where women pay less because they're women. Take life insurance. Women live longer than men, which in and of itself isn't fair. I mean, should we be killing women, euthanizing them, 6 or 7 years before they die just to get the disparity out? I mean, why is it fair? Why should women live longer than men just because they're women? But I mean, that's a different situation. But okay, so women live longer than men. So if a woman in her 30s or 40s is going to buy a life insurance policy, particularly a term life insurance policy, it's going to be a lot cheaper than a man. Why is she getting a break just because she's a woman? Well, because women live longer than men, therefore there is less risk of death, and therefore she doesn't have to pay as much. Now, should we level the playing field? Why don't we force life insurance companies to charge men and women the same thing? Right? Because after all, men are paying more, women are paying less. What about auto insurance? If you're a teenage boy, or even a young man, 20, 21, 22, you're going to pay a lot more in auto insurance than a woman who's the same age as you. Is that fair? Well, of course it's fair because men get into more accidents. They're more aggressive when they're driving. Maybe they're more likely to get drink and drive. I don't know, but the statistics show that young men are more likely to get into an auto accident than young women. Therefore, when young men want to buy auto insurance, they pay more simply because they're men. The women get a break. The women pay less. So if it's okay for the women to pay less for auto insurance, if it's okay for women to pay less for life insurance, why is it not okay for men to pay less for health insurance? But do the women have to get all the breaks, right? Because whenever women can buy something cheaper than men, well, that's fair. That's the market. But if men can buy something cheaper than women, that's not fair. We need a law to stop that. Think about Social Security. Men and women pay the exact same Social Security tax on their income, and they qualify to get the exact same monthly benefits for their life after they stop working. But if women live, 6 or 7 years longer than men on average, women should pay more for Social Security. Their Social Security taxes should be higher, or their monthly benefits should be lower to reflect their longevity. But they're not. Women get a better deal on Social Security than men just because they're women, because it's not being priced. So there's all sorts of ways in society where women catch a break for being a woman. There's not many times where you get something cheaper as a man. I mean, health insurance might have been the one thing that men had where they got a little break, and now that's taken away. And of course, a lot of young men, they're the ones, if they go on a date with a young woman, they're the ones that are picking up the cost of the date. I mean, so is it so terrible that the young men who have to take the woman out to dinner or the movies, that they catch a little bit of a break on their health insurance that they barely use? No. They got to pay the same amount. And, what about, have you ever gone to a bar and it's ladies' night? Yeah, ladies' night. Ladies get in free. Ladies drink free. Have you ever seen a men's night? Have you ever gone to a bar where men get in free or men drink free? I've never seen that. Now, are we protesting? Is it illegal? That's discrimination. Why should women get to drink free? Just because they're women. Why is being a man, that's a pre-existing condition. Why can't a man drink free? Because no bar is going to have men's night, because the men are only there because they think the women are going to be there. So how do the bars get the women to be there? Promise them a free drink. But of course, the women are going to drink free anyway because the guys are going to buy them the drinks. It's the men that need a free drink, but they're not going to get one. But again, all of this discrimination against men is perfectly fine with women, right? All the perks that women get for being women, that's fine. But if you find one occasion where women have to pay more for something because they're a woman, then we need the government to come in. This is unfair. This isn't fair to women. I even remember one time I read some protest where some woman was protesting because a beauty parlor or a salon was charging more for a woman's haircut than for a men's haircut. Look at my hair. I barely have any hair left. I get my hair cut now, and the whole thing takes 10 or 15 minutes, and they're done. Right? You cut a woman's hair. She's gonna be there for an hour at least. Obviously. You're gonna charge men less for a haircut, this is not fair. Ladies' haircut, women, it's got to be the same, right? They're so hypersensitive, and of course, all this is because supposedly women vote as a block. The way you get women to vote for you is to promise them free things because of their sexuality, because of their womanness, right? There's nobody promises men anything free just because they're men. They get the same free stuff that women get when you talk about welfare and food stamps and all that kind of stuff. But there's nothing about, nobody is trying to cater to the men's group by promising them something that men like for free, that just men use, that's unique to men, and say, hey, we're gonna give this to you, right? Maybe razor blades. I know women shave their legs, but they probably don't have to replace the blades as often as maybe the ObamaCare. Why doesn't it have free razor blades? Why isn't that included in there? It's shaving cream and all the stuff that men use kind of on a regular basis more than women. Why isn't all that stuff thrown in there for free? Because it's not politically correct to advocate free stuff for men. But of course, it's completely politically correct when you're talking about free stuff for women.